Hi everyone, and welcome to 2022. It's my first video of the year. I had a really nice little getaway during the new year to kind of reflect all of that. So if I seem joyful, it's because I took time to myself. But welcome to 2022. This video is in direct result of somebody reaching out to me saying that they were going to begin deconstructing and moving away from their family. And what I realized is that I have a bunch of videos on the healing process, but not so much about the actual logistics of trying to leave a religious community or an abusive relationship with God. And what does that actually look like? What are the steps that you actually need to take in order to keep yourself physically and mentally and emotionally safe? So I would like to thank this person that reached out to me for having the courage to do so. And I do not take lightly that this person has the courage to remove themselves from a situation, which is all they know. And removing yourself from a situation that is all you know and going into the unknown when you have been told that the unknown is more chaotic than what you know is such a terrifying step to take, but it is the most important one. And once you take that step, you just want to stay out and away from the negotiation that your brain inevitably does, which again is something that's built into your programming. You are built to second guess yourself. You are built to see the negative things in the world, and you are built to go back because you are built to be dependent. And in this person's journey of moving away, I wanted to give all of my practical tips and practical knowledge of how to stay out of this relationship, of having to go back to the community, because you are set up to have to go back to the community. And if you do end up back there, if you do end up back in a religiously abusive community, that's part of the journey. It is not if you leave and you end up back, you have failed. No, it's the next step that you took. And maybe the step that you took ended you back up. But what I like to think of it as is think of it as a spiral staircase. So even though you were back in the situation, you see it from a different level. And yes, you were circling back, but now you have more information. So the most important thing is to not beat yourself up for wherever it is that you are on your journey, because it is a very excruciatingly difficult journey to make. So I want to start first with bravo for having the courage to take that step, because it is so monumentous and it is the tearing of your life into a before and after. And having the volition to do that on your own is incredible. And I don't think that you know how incredible that is yet. And at some moment in your life, when you are far enough away from it and you look back, I don't think that you could ever be prouder of yourself than you will be for making this decision to step out of this religiously abusive environment. So that's the preface, is that the best and most intelligent and most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself is having the courage to remove yourself from a religiously abusive environment. And if you've done that, congratulations and well done. And you deserve all the encouragement. And if you're watching this, please leave encouraging messages below for people who are in that first step of leaving, because it is absolutely the hardest, unquestioningly. And I want to talk about the first week. And you've heard my story, so I don't necessarily want to regurgitate that. But I do want to say that it is natural. It's natural to question everything. It's natural to feel like you made a mistake. It's natural to want to feel like you want to go back. And it's natural to feel completely alone. And I want to give you that, because those are the things that you will feel. And when you're in a religiously abusive environment, it makes you feel all those things. And on top of that, also, your feelings are wrong. So it can feel really confusing. And so in order to get out of that, I'm going to ask you to have two thoughts. Number one, the very first thought is to keep with you the thought and the belief and the absolute fact that you can do this. You can stay out of this religiously abusive environment. you can make this work for you. Absolutely, unquestioningly, you can continue this step. So when you doubt yourself, the doubts are not from you. They are thoughts in your head, yes, but they do not belong to you. But create a thought that belongs to you, that reminds you that, yes, of course you can do this. Yes, absolutely you can. So that is such a useful thing to have, because then you will teach you to use yourself as resource. And yes, absolutely you can do this. So in those moments of self-doubt and in those moments where you feel overwhelmed and maybe people are reminding you that you can't do it, you need to have such a stubborn strength that says back to them, yes, I can. And that voice also needs to talk back to yourself, and you have to tell yourself, yes, I can. So that's the absolute number one thing. And then the second thing that is really important is to understand that your world right now, your worldview right now, is small. And there is a world out there, but it's not what you think it looks like. Your view of the world right now is one that is given to you. It's not based off of your experience. It's based off of someone else's experience and their regurgitation to you to keep you in something that is abusive. So the world that you were told exists does not. And the world that you were told exists is probably very eerily similar to the world that you were actually in before you left. So my advice is to be unafraid of the world, because it is not what you imagine it to be. It is not what you were told it is. And the world is large enough for you to build your own. So be less afraid and understand that the worldview that you have that you might be afraid of is not what actually exists. And as you have the courage to go out there and you have the courage to do your best to stay out, keep walking, understand that you can create your own world. And that is nothing like what you think or what you can even envision at the first moment when you leave. You don't even necessarily have the capacity to understand what is available to you. So do your best to stay out. Do your best to walk away. And when the world seems overwhelming, ask yourself what's actually true, because it's different. It's very different sometimes than what you imagine to be happening, because you come out into the world feeling incapable, being taught that you're incapable and being taught that the world is evil. And you are not incapable, and the world is not basically evil. So my advice, that's my advice, is do your best to remind yourself that yes, you are capable. Yes, you can stay out. And remind yourself that the world that you are afraid of doesn't actually exist. And you can create your own world if you have the courage to stay out. So I hope that this was helpful. Those two things for me were things that I just like clung onto as I was like bawling my eyes out every single night because I missed my family and I missed my friends. But I just would do my best to remind myself that I can do this. Like really at the end of the day, all I need to do is I needed to make $400 a week so that I could pay rent. And that is what I clung to. And I was like, I can probably figure out how to make $400 a week to pay rent. And all my energy went to that instead of the thinking of like, you know, God hates me, my mom hates me, I'm never going to see my siblings again. My whole community thinks, like, all those thoughts are thoughts that are built in and don't belong to you. And so my thought was, where can I get $400? And that was the useful and true thought to have in my situation. So find useful and true thoughts to have in your situation. And remember that the world that you were told exists doesn't. Because you can, now that you are out of that religiously abusive environment, now you are in charge of the world and you can create your own. So widen your worldview, see what's out there, find what's true. And it is absolutely true that you are capable of doing this. And it is absolutely true that you can create a beautiful, beautiful world for yourself. So I applaud you. I hope that you know that you're not alone in the journey. And best of luck. Do your best. Don't judge yourself for whatever it is that you're feeling or going through. It's a very convoluted journey, but as you stay walking out, I promise you that it's more, it's so stunning that it is almost unexplainable. The journey is such a beautiful one if you can keep walking forward, and you will find moments of joy that you can't even imagine at this point. So believe in your capability, keep walking forward, and reach out for help when you need it, because there is a whole world that wants to see you win this battle. There is a whole world that wants to see you thrive. And I am part of that world, and this community is part of that world, and we want to see you thrive. So keep at it. Reach out for help when you need it. I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for being here. I'm really excited for what this year is going to bring for you and for me. So thank you, and I'll see you next week.